At the peak of the 2000s anime boom, when the medium was still navigating its transition from niche subculture to global pop mainstream, a strange phenomenon emerged. An anime that was eccentric, self-aware, wildly non-linear, and somehow still a massive cultural juggernaut. It wasn't just another high school comedy or science fiction blend, it was something else entirely. The Prince presents Suzumiya Haruhi, the anime that revolutionized anime. Well, Haruhi is truly a very special anime to me. It gives me the best possible vibe of a school-themed anime, and I believe nothing else will ever quite capture the same atmosphere for me. That retro 2000s school feeling, especially the winter mood at the end of the second season and in Shoshitu. The skies are grey, but everyone is together at school, having fun, studying, getting ready for festivals. For me, those are the most memorable moments in Haruhi. I honestly don't have the words to fully describe how much I love the atmosphere in those parts. It just screams 2000s to 2010s to me. Anyway, back then, life was simpler because I was just a kid. I'd come home and play online games with my internet friends, and one standout memory is how the best player in that game had the nickname Yuki Nagato, and the game itself had small references to Suzumiya Haruhi. So when you put all of that together, talking about Haruhi really brings me some special memories, both because of its atmosphere and because of the good times I had with my friends in that FPS game, which, despite the genre, had Haruhi vibes from the start. Not to mention, Suzumiya Haruhi really was a phenomenon for anime fans at the time. A wide phrase. Anime fans at the time. The world's changed so much. These days it feels like everyone watches anime. Oh, don't mind me. You can go back to watching the video. I was just thinking out loud. Before I start talking about Haruhi, I'd like to discuss two contexts: how light novel anime adaptations were during the 2000s and Kyoto animation. Before Haruhi, light novels were largely a curiosity. Sure, few adaptations exist, but they were hardly taken seriously as engines of creativity or innovation. Then came Kyoto Animation's 2006 adaptation of Suzumiya Haruhi no Yutu, and everything changed. Kyoto Animation was founded in the early 98, but for decades they weren't a household name. They cut their teeth as a subcontracting studio, supporting bigger companies within between animation and cleanup. Their reputation quietly grew because of their obsessive quality control and the way they treated animators. Unlike the traditional freelance-heavy Japanese animation industry, KyoAni employed many of its staff full-time. They trained new talent through their in-house school, and they put animators on salaries. That structure gave them stability and consistency, which in turn allowed them to polish their work in a way most studios simply couldn't afford. Before Haruhi, KyoAni had already made waves with Fullmetal Panic, adaptations of Choji Gato's light novel series, and they revealed something important. KyoAni had a knack for balancing comedy and action without losing character detail. Their follow-up, Air 2005, an adaptation of a key visual novel, proved that they could handle emotional storytelling and capture subtle, atmospheric moods. By the time Suzumiya Haruhi no Yutu came along in 2006, KyoAni had sharpened their craft across different genres, but they hadn't yet had that breakout hit that would define them. What made KyoAni special at that time and why Haruhi worked so perfectly with them comes down to their signature characteristics, like attention to micro animation. KyoAni animators specialized in tiny human gestures, glances, hand movements, awkward pauses that made the characters feel alive. When you are adapting a light novel, this is a must, because light novel is a medium that exceeds in this. In Haruhi, this is everywhere. Kyon slouching at his desk, Yuki's almost imperceptible head turns, Haruhi's sudden burst of motion. Those moments gave weight to the dialogue-heavy scenes, polish and consistency. Because KyoAni worked differently from most studios, they avoid the wild fluctuations in quality that plagued week-to-week TV anime. Haruhi maintained a high production value throughout its entire run, which made it stand out in 2006, when inconstant animation was still common. Adaptation as transformation. KyoAni didn't just copy the light novel, they restructured it. By airing the first season out of chronological order, they took a creative gamble that only a studio confident in its storytelling could pull off. It forced viewers to actively engage with the material and made the series stand out in conversation week after week. Haruhi became the series that proved all those strengths. It showed that KyoAni wasn't just a reliable contractor or a polished studio, they were innovators. They could take a light novel, something still seen a niche at the time, and turn it into a mainstream cultural phenomenon. After Haruhi, Kyoto Animation became a brand name in itself, and every project they touched, Clannad, Lucky Star, K-On!, was seen as a potential landmark. So when we talk about Haruhi's success, it's not just about the story, or the dance, or the memes. It's the fact that this show arrived in the hands of a studio that was ready to redefine what TV anime could look and feel like. Without KyoAni's meticulous craft, Haruhi might have been just another adaptation. With them, it became the anime that changed the industry. Suddenly, light novels were goldmines. After Haruhi, there was Toradora, Spice and Wolf, Bakemonogatari, Durarara, a tidal wave of adaptations that traced back to the explosive success of this one series. It proved that light novels weren't just viable sources for anime, they could become the source. At its heart, the story is about a cynical high schooler named Kyon, who gets roped into the supernatural. He joins a club run by Haruhi, a girl with godlike powers she isn't even aware of. The catch? Her emotions and whims literally shape reality. Surrounding her are a secret trio, an alien, a time traveler, and an expert, all working undercover to prevent her from accidentally destroying the world. The genius of the show isn't the wild premise itself, but the constant psychological tension. Kyon's main job is to keep Haruhi entertained and happy, because if she gets bored, the world might literally end. The show balances this tension with humor, charm, and moments of genuine hurt. We see Kyon gradually understand the weight of his choices and his role. He becomes the emotional center of the narrative, a jaded realist reluctantly becoming a believer. His dry commentary gives the audience a lens of skepticism, so when he starts to care, when he starts to take responsibility for Haruhi and the others, it hits harder. He becomes the stand-in for us, someone who didn't ask for any of this, but can't walk away. And that reluctant loyalty is what keeps the story human. Haruhi, on the other hand, is the storm at the center. She's reckless, selfish, and overwhelming, but that intensity is also what makes her magnetic. She embodies the raw desire for excitement and meaning, even if it comes at the cost of stability. Yuki Nagato balances her as the opposite. Quiet, calculated, a machine learning what it means to be human. Every tiny expression from Yuki is a revelation, showing how subtle animation can convey entire emotional arcs. Mikuru Asahina is the soft foil, caught in the role of the dancer, but also hiding deeper sadness as someone forced into a mission she can't fully control. And then there is Itsuki Koizumi, the smiling enigma, cheerful on the surface, but always hinting at the manipulative, calculated side of those keeping Haruhi in check. Together, these characters form a kind of delicate orbit around Haruhi's gravity. Each one highlights a different angle of what it means to live in a world where the rules aren't fixed, where your very existence depends on the whims of someone who doesn't even know her own power. It's that blend of cosmic stakes and painfully human relationships that gives the story its bite. The first season shifted its episodes to reflect the protagonist Kyom's disjointed emotional arc, and that structure allowed for a more powerful emotional payoff when the last episode aired. That sense of mystery, anticipation, and experimentation defined Haruhi. It turned a high-concept, character-driven science fiction narrative into an experience that made the audience feel on it. But now that we understand all this context and small part of its success, let's talk about all the points that made this anime change the anime landscape. The anime's ending theme was a huge hit because it included a fully choreographed dance that was easy to copy. Fans everywhere started recording themselves doing the dance in schools, parking lots, and even at large public meetups. This trend coincided with the rise of the voice actors as major celebrities. The ending song was performed by Aya Hirano, Minori Chihara, and Yuko Goto, who also voiced the three main female characters. This helped establish a new era where voice actors were no longer just voices behind the scenes. They were performers on stage, music artists, and public figures. The song's popularity played a key role in making voice actors into idols, a concept that would later become a cornerstone for many anime and multimedia franchises. Aya Hirano, who voiced Haruhi, became one of the earliest examples of an idol voice actor, as Seiyuu crossed into mainstream fame through singing, events, and appearances. Her rise during Haruhi era symbolized a shift in how anime was marketed and how voice actors were perceived. Before Haruhi, Kyoani was respected but not legendary. Haruhi demonstrated that they could deliver narrative innovation, visual quality, and meta-creative storytelling. It paved the way for their later films. The studio itself became a brand known for polish and emotional intelligence, thanks largely to this project. Aya Hirano, in particular, personified the multi-platform Seiyuu, acting, singing, commanding a stage with God knows at the cultural festival, and naturally promoting the brand just by being a star. She was extremely talented, and at that moment she was the star of the Japanese voice acting industry. In addition to the spectacular voice acting, we also have the story arcs and how Kyoto Animation adapted the original material. Then, of course, there is Endless 8, the most divisive and infamous arc in anime history. We can't talk about influence without touching Endless 8. In 2009, when the series aired, KyoAni adapted a short story about a time loop and animated it 8 times across 8 weeks. Same summer vacation, different outfits and staging, new cuts, the same sense of deja vu that the characters felt. That made everything crazy. Forums blew up. Even people outside the fandom heard about that show during the same episode 8 times. To this day, it's funny to see people talking about this arc when they are watching it for the first time. Kyoto Animation made a bold choice that got everyone talking, whether they liked it or not. The message was clear. This studio is ready to invest a lot of time and money just to make a creative statement. This move changed how we measure success. It wasn't just about ratings or sales anymore. It was about capturing the public's attention and becoming a major topic of conversation. Even years later, this anime is still a prime example of how a TV show can push creative boundaries to fully express its theme. 8 episodes, one time loop, the same 2 weeks repeat with only slight changes in direction, music, tone, and camera angles. Was it trolling or a bold artistic experiment? Each interaction reveals Kyon's growing dread and helplessness until he finally chooses to act, breaking the loop. The point isn't the repetition, it's what repetition does. It pushes viewers to feel the exact existential stagnation the characters are experiencing. By episode 6 or 7, you want out, you beg for change. That makes the resolution feel earned. It's a rare moment where an anime uses the format itself to make you feel what the characters feel. The huge reaction, good or bad, prove that creating controversy on purpose could actually help a show get noticed instead of hurting it. Ever since, many shows have started taking bigger creative risks, knowing that a strong debate response will grab more attention and reach a wider audience than playing it safe. But the franchise pinnacle is undoubtedly the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, aka Suzumiya Haruhi no Shoushitsu, the 2010 film that adapts the 4th novel. This movie is, to this day, my favorite anime movie of all time. It's been almost 10 years since I've watched it for the first time. Nearly 3 hours long, meticulously paced and pivoting the perspective onto Kyon's existential crisis. Shoushitsu wasn't a brand extension, it was a statement. A TV-born franchise can deliver a full theatrical work with cinematic ambition and commercial legs. As of today, 15 years later, this is one of the longest anime films ever made. The success of the film was undeniable. When it was released in Japan in February 2010, it immediately broke into the top 10 at the box office, earning about 200 million yen in its first week despite being on limited screens. Its success wasn't just commercial, it was also critically acclaimed. It won the Animation Kobe Award for Best Theatrical Film. This award was highly respected in the industry, as winners were chosen by a panel of experts and critics, not just based on sales. By winning, the film earned recognition from the industry itself for its artistic and creative quality. It was as if the Japanese industry itself was celebrating this major phenomenon. While the film didn't invent the concept of turning a TV series into a movie, its performance made it feel like a necessary step for any popular franchise. It proved that an anime movie could be a major hit with both audiences and critics, paving the way for the success of later films like K-On! The Movie or Madoka Magica Rebellion. Stylistically, Shoushitsu also sets a bar for how to recontextualize a series in film form. Different tone, colder color script, and a focus on interiority that played to Kyoani's strengths in minute character acting. It whispered something the industry took to heart. If your TV anime is built on charismatic characters, your movie can slow down, zoom in, and let acting carry the grand stakes. It opens with Jon waking up in a world without Haruhi. Nobody remembers her. The aliens, experts, and time travelers are gone. It's quiet, peaceful, and real, and Jon hates it. The film is a meditation on choice, identity, and belonging. For once, Jon has the power to choose between normalcy and chaos. The film features Kyoani's best animation to date at the time, a hauntingly quiet atmosphere, immersion, and character work that feels like a culmination of everything the series built. It should have launched a new era of stories for Haruhi. Instead, that was the end. The truth is, Suzumiya Haruhi didn't fade because it lost relevance. It faded because it stopped moving. Unlike other big franchises that stayed alive through sequels, spin-offs, and constant updates, Haruhi hit a wall. After the massive success of the 2006 anime, the 2009 second season, and the 2010 film, The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, aka Suzumiya Haruhi no Shoshitsu, everyone expected more. The hype, the demand, the fanbase, it was all there, but the continuation never came. Nagaru Tanigawa, the author of the light novels, essentially vanished from the spotlight. For years, no new volumes appeared, no announcements were made, no hints of resolution surfaced. The story was left hanging, suspended in mid-air. Haruhi was a hugely successful story, so many theories arose. Why did the author simply stop writing Haruhi? We never really got an answer, only speculation. It could have been due to laziness, Dobbits being overwhelmed by the story's massive success, or even a lack of ideas, though the latter seems the less likely. Light novels are a complicated medium. Generally, if you are a light novel author, you are one of these three. You have an incredible work but suddenly stop writing and never continue. You are an amazing author with a bizarre and excellent hyper-focus on your story, living it by releasing multiple volumes a year. Or you release one volume slowly each year and either have multiple works to juggle or just prefer a more relaxed pace. Of all these, the case of Suzumiya Haruhi is the first. And while Haruhi stood still, the industry kept moving. New hits emerged for light novels, Index, Sword Art Online, countless others, each one seizing the cultural momentum that Haruhi once held. New generations of fans discovered anime through those titles instead. And without constant new material, Haruhi inevitably shifted from a living phenomenon into a touchstone of nostalgia. An anime that once defined the cutting edge of the medium became rooted in the past, not because it was forgotten, but because its revolution came in fits and starts. Occasional novels after years of silence, rather than steady continuation. Today, Haruhi isn't everywhere like it was in 2006. It's a classic that survives in fragments, through nostalgia, through references in fan spaces, through the novels that still appear when least expect. The series now releases a few chapters a year, even though it seems unlikely that it will go on another 10 years hiatus. I don't think the releases will be constant. How is Haruhi series today in the novel? In 2020, a new volume was released that included 2 older short stories previously published in magazines but not in a novel, totaling around 8 pages, and 1 new short story of around 200 pages. It sold about as well as previous volumes in the past, selling around 8,000 copies in its first week and getting an immediate reprint, though I don't know the total sales. Let it in the comments if you know. Another volume came out in 2024, which featured 2 older chapters around 80 pages and 2 new chapters around 170 pages that form a single story. I don't recall its sales figures, but it was significantly less, around 4,000 in its first week. Taking it with a grain of salt, I have a friend's opinion that has read everything. The new story from 2020 is formally the peak of Suzumiya Haruhi. It's a series of experiments with narrative techniques used to create ambiguity and double meanings within a meta discussion about classical mysteries. It's incredibly ambitious and largely successful. Considering the elements of surprise and dissociation, I see it as a prototype for a new arc that may never get off the ground. What do you think about this opinion? Even though I haven't read the light novels myself and have only watched the anime, it's interesting to hear the opinion of someone who has. It's great to know that even after all this time, Haruhi is still as good as ever, and sometimes it can even surpass itself. We can only pray, but we must not forget its great importance. Haruhi also opened the floodgates for how anime fans discuss anime. Before Haruhi, analysis often lived in academic or niche fan circles. With Haruhi, online forums exploded with theories, timelines, hidden clues, and thematic debates. It encouraged viewers to look deeper, to treat anime as a text worth dissecting. The seeds of modern video SI culture, well, maybe me, AnyTube, deep read threads on Reddit and Twitter, they were all watered by Haruhi's impact, even if it was just a little. Maybe that's why it still matters. Just as Neon Genesis Evangelion shook anime in the 90s with psychological deconstruction, Haruhi redefined the 2000s with non-linear storytelling, light novel adaptation culture, and immersive fan engagement. Subsequent paradigm shift titles like Madoka Magica or Shingeki no Kyojin took different paths, but they all stood on the foundation that Haruhi established, that anime could be weird, meta, emotionally impactful, and mainstream. Suzumiya Haruhi wasn't just an anime, it was a shift in the medium, a proof of concept, a statement. It broke structure, challenged viewers, and dared to trust its audience. It didn't explain everything, didn't pander. It asked, what if the most powerful being in the universe was a girl with a god complex? And the only good thing holding the world together was a tired boy with a sharp tongue. It gave us an answer, and then it disappeared. However, even if the world forgot Haruhi, the anime world we live in now still lives in her shadow. But hey, this video can't end on a bittersweet note at all. It's time to stop talking like this, because instead of complaining, I'm making a grand celebration of what I consider a classic of the century for anime. With all this, we can see how special this anime was and how it helped the industry to be different and shaped into what it is today. We can certainly say that Suzumiya Haruhi is an anime that revolutionized anime. This story exists. It was the light of the 2000s in the Japanese market. And as I say this, flashes pass through my mind, reminding me of Haruhi's most impactful and emotional moments. Time passes, but works like this phenomenon left their mark on history. This is my tribute to Suzumiya Haruhi, the anime that changed anime forever, where almost 20 years ago, all of Japan was thinking about one thing: the melancholy and disappearance of Suzumiya Haruhi. Thank you for watching my video all the way to the end. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe and give the video a like. If you are interested in this kind of content, you are welcome here, as I'm cooking up more for the future. See you later. And with that, I will close the curtains and the showdown.